both of those players are still on the team, paid a large amount of money. And they've also got one or two key free agents on the team in the defensive backfield, paid a ton of money. So while some of them are getting older, some of them have contract situations, and most of them have not performed at the level that they were expected to when brought in, that is no reason for Jerry Jones to throw away more resources and opportunity into that one area of your football team. Their defensive line is atrocious. They've got two good linebackers. They've got plenty of highly paid, big name, high drafted young and veteran people in their secondary. But their defense is awful. So where does that leave us? They need a defensive end or a defensive tackle. There is no defensive tackle, pure defensive tackle worth taking, and they might be okay there. So they're definitely looking at a guy who can play defensive end. So we're down to Bosa and Buckner. Bosa is a pure 4-3 D end. They play a pure 4-3 defense. That being said, Buckner to me he has the potential, I should say, to be the Leonard Williams of the 4-3 defensive line. Leonard Williams last year was the best defensive player, best overall player in the draft. Fell like sixth, I want to say, to the New York Jets. They used him at nose tackle. They used him at both defensive end spots. They might have even slid him into a pass rushing outside linebacker once or twice. But they run a 3-4, okay? That is the type of position and role that Buckner can fill on a 4-3 defense. He has the size, athleticism, speed, strength, versatility, everything to play a 4-3 defensive end, to move in and play the pass rushing 4-3 defensive tackle. He can play either defensive end spot. And if you want some kind of jumbo set, I'm sure you could put him at a blitzing outside linebacker position as well. So when you've got the multiple needs that Dallas has on their defense, and you've got two guys that you're choosing from, one that could for sure fulfill one of those needs, another that could for sure fulfill one, maybe two, maybe three needs, you got to go with the guy that gives you more. So this is where I'm picking me as a GM and going against what I'm predicting what to happen. What I'm predicting to happen officially is that the Cowboys will stay put at number 4 and draft Joey Bosa out of Ohio State University. On this mock draft, how this mock draft is being run, with me GMing every team the way it should go, because that's what I'm giving you here for a unique spin on my mock draft with my show this week, the Dallas Cowboys select defensive lineman DeForest Buckner out of Oregon with the 4th pick, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are now on the clock sitting 5. And this one doesn't take long at all. The Jacksonville Jaguars are definitely going defense, and they have to go linebacker or secondary. Their defensive line is good. They drafted a high defensive lineman last year who got injured right away to play defensive end / outside linebacker in their unique 3-4 hybrid style defense. He didn't play at all last year because he got injured right away. He should be ready to go this year. They've got a high draft pick from recent history that came around and did good at the nose tackle in Alu, and they signed a defensive end who can also move into the defensive tackle spot. That's an elite level player from the championship Denver Broncos, that being Malik Jackson. So there is no chance the Jacksonville Jaguars go defensive line with this pick. They might go linebacker, they might go secondary. So your only choices are Myles Jack and Jalen Ramsey. And if Jalen Ramsey is still available, which he is on this draft, and I believe he will be as well, and I, for the record, say he shouldn't be. That's how good and talented he is. This doesn't take long. They don't have to worry about Myles Jack's knee injury concerns and anything like that. They take the best player in the draft, let alone the best player available, the phrase you're going to hear a million times, and probably have heard a million times now the past week or two already, addressing an area of need, and they run up to the podium, stay put at 5. The Jacksonville Jaguars select Jalen Ramsey, defensive back, cornerback / safety, out of the University of Florida State. steal. They're ecstatic. Their defense instantly gets better. They look to maybe get a linebacker somewhere in rounds 2 or 3, and all of a sudden they go from an average to below average defense to a scary defense that could be really good for a long time. And now that leaves us at the 6th pick in the NFL draft, and the Baltimore Ravens are on the clock. I do not believe that there is anyone other than DeForest Buckner that the Baltimore Ravens covet at the 6th spot. Possibly offensive tackles, Laramie Tunsil or Ronnie Stanley. Those would be the only, other small chances. But it's my belief that they don't really covet anyone at that spot other than Buckner. I think he's the only person they want to take there. So in real life, what I predict is going to happen is I predict that Baltimore is going to stay put and select Buckner because Dallas is going to have passed on him and taken Bosa. However, in this draft, with me GMing the way it's supposed to go, the right way to pick it if you're running these teams, Buckner is no longer available, and thus Baltimore is desperately looking to trade that pick. They do not find a deal that is worth what they're looking for and still allows them to get a player they want. Because there might be one other player I think that they covet that I did not mention that would fill an area of need and is highly considered to be an elite level player. There's just one concern, and that is knee injury, knee health. However, I have them overlooking that and going with the best linebacker in the draft, a future replacement possible to take over for the soon-to-be retired Terrell Suggs. Can slide him inside, outside. They run a 3-4. They got to start 4 freaking linebackers in Baltimore. And all the ones they have are old or questionable, with the exception of C.J. Mosley at inside linebacker that they took the other year. So I have, with the 6th pick in the draft, Baltimore Ravens taking a chance on one of these swing guys here that could go as high as 4. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I should say could go as high as 5, could go as low as 15, let's say. But I have him going 6, overlooking the knee injury, knee concerns. Baltimore Ravens select linebacker Miles Jack out of UCLA. Now, like I said, he is a name to keep an eye on that could fall. Just like Joey Bosa could fall as far as 12 to the New Orleans Saints, could go as high as 4 to the Cowboys. These are the names and the players that will swing the draft in the top 10 picks and shape how the rest of it plays out. Buckner, Ramsey, well, not Ramsey so much, Buckner, Jack, Bosa, and Tunsil. After that, then, you've got some clamoring. And so now that means that the San Francisco 49ers, with the 7th pick in the draft, are on the clock, and there are several choices here that they could go with. They're looking offensive linemen. They could go Ronnie Stanley. He's available here right now. They're definitely in need of secondary help. They could always use defensive line help and linebacker help as well, and they could be looking quarterback. However, I don't have them going quarterback because both Blaine Gabbert and Colin Kaepernick are on that roster, and until one of those guys goes, just like in Cleveland, who currently has RG3 and Josh McCown both on the roster, and just like in the New York Jets, who currently have Bryce Petty and Geno Smith, until that becomes, until something changes where that number's not 2 anymore, I don't see them going quarterback with their first pick. There's too many bigger needs on this team than the third best quarterback in the draft, who's totally viewed as a developmental project, that being Paxton Lynch. So I have them emphatically running up to the podium and shocking most people, but not me, because this is a guy to me that could go as high as 5 if Ramsey goes 3 or 4. But at 7, I have the San Francisco 49ers selecting defensive back, consensus number 2 on everybody's board, Vernon Hargreaves III out of the University of Florida. The only knock on him is his size. He's like 5'10", but dude's fast, dude can tackle, he's smart, he's hard-nosed, Great motor, great in coverage, man and zone and press. And his biggest strength is he is a playmaker on the ball. Like I said, the only knock on him is his size. And as soon as Ramsey is off the board, he becomes arguably the most coveted guy, along with Ronnie Stanley. Once Tunsil and Ramsey are off the board, the two most coveted guys that look for trade-ups, if there are trade-ups, they will be for these two people, will be Vernon Hargreaves and Ronnie Stanley. But so at 7, like I said, I have the 49ers helping out desperately their atrocious secondary. Like, look at their secondary on paper someday. Like, it's almost non-existent. So they take Vernon Hargreaves, and that leaves the Browns at 8, who are also looking to maybe trade back up or trade back down even more. I think they'd be more likely to trade down. However, they do not in this draft with Ronnie Stanley still sitting there. They were thinking Tunsil at 2, but because they liked Stanley better, they traded down. Same with Tennessee. They liked a different tackle better, so they traded down. With Stanley still there, with Thomas on his last leg, having no right tackle, having 2 veteran quarterbacks right now that can both play. McCown did good last year, and RG3 is still young and has done good in the past, maybe could be resurgent. They need to go offensive line. There's a chance they'll go Ezekiel Elliott, but I don't think so. There's a chance they go defensive line. If there's a defensive lineman there that they feel worthy, I don't think so. There's a chance they go linebacker if Miles Jack is still there. I don't think so. I think they run up to the podium, take the guy they've really wanted the whole time and feeling great about it, future left tackle and new starting right tackle, Ronnie Stanley, goes 8 to the Cleveland Browns, and that means at number 9, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the clock. Now, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have 2 players in this first round that they covet more than anyone else, and that is defensive backs Jalen Ramsey and Vernon Hargreaves III. However, both of them will be gone by the time the 9th pick gets there. Don't believe mock drafts that have Hargreaves falling out of the top 10, going like 11 to Chicago or something. Chicago wishes. That is not going to happen. Hargreaves is going in the top 10, and the Buccaneers desperately want him to fall to 9. They will trade up to get him too if the opportunity is there. However, in this mock draft, he is not, and the opportunity to trade up and get him is not. So they're going to have to look elsewhere. They're basically looking best player available, with the exception of one per se. The one exception would be Reggie Ragland, inside linebacker. He is by far the one and only top-level inside linebacker in this draft. And inside linebacker is a huge area of need for half of the teams in this draft. That is why I do not believe any of the drafts that have him falling like 27 to the Packers, which I've seen a lot of mocks that have that. I think Reggie Ragland is a hot name that could go as high as 9 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He fulfills an immediate area of need, and is just a really solid player. He doesn't have a ton of room for potential, but just really solid at your middle linebacker, especially in a 4-3, really true 4-3 middle linebacker. That being said, if the Bucks decide that they want Ramsey, Hargreaves, or Ragland, and the defensive backs are gone and they're stuck sitting at 9, I don't think they'll take Ragland at 9. I think they'll trade down if they really want Ragland and the opportunity presents itself. However, there's a player on the board that I think enough people have a high enough opinion on, and there is an opening on this defensive line for a player at his position to come in and start and make an impact and help this team win games. I feel the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go best player available and draft Joey Bosa, defensive end out of Ohio State, at number 9. And that leaves the New York Giants on the clock at number 10. Again, lots of directions they could go here. In my opinion, the Giants should and likely will go defense. They're in desperate need for a linebacker, but more so inside linebacker than an outside linebacker. A lot of people have Leonard Floyd going here. I think that's very reasonable, but I just don't see them. If they're going to take a linebacker, I don't see them taking a risk linebacker like Leonard Floyd. He's one of those athletic risers in the draft. a combine type of guy that's climbing up draft boards, and I just don't see the Giants